What's going on, guys? Evan the Dota 2 enthusiast here, bringing another Dota 2 gameplay commentary on the PC, which is of course the only platform that currently and likely will ever carry Defense of the Ancients 2. This is going to be a Shadow Shaman gameplay, which was originally intended to be recorded live. I actually spent this whole match sort of monologuing with myself as the match continued, and I was really looking forward to uploading it. But for whatever reason, I screwed up my audio recording settings, I guess, and DOTA2 actually didn't record my audio track for my mic. So here we are. We're just gonna do it again. I'm gonna sort of scoot up to the microphone here, so if you hear a change in the audio, that's probably why. I'm still trying to judge the best distance to talk on this microphone, because at this point, according to my audio synchronization levels, my mixer rather, the levels are spiking near the top, but last time I recorded this, everyone said they could hardly hear the audio due to the settings on my mic, so we'll have to see what happens here with this recording. I can always change it in the wave editor. So this is going to be a Rasta dual lane at the top. You can see already from the start we have poor coordination. I'm playing with absolutely zero friends in this match. This is just me rolling all by myself with the Shadow Shaman. I picked him because I'm trying to learn him and get better with him, so this is by no means an expert Shadow Shaman gameplay. This is just sort of a Shadow Shaman gameplay where I think I performed well. I think I did some bad wards, some good wards. But before I get into that, I should probably talk about his actual skills for those of you that aren't familiar with this hero, or just looking for a refresher. His first skill, Aether Shock, is a nuke that does, a set amount of damage over a number of group targets directly. You target a creep or a hero, and then it zaps everything directly in front of him and close to that creep up to a certain number of targets. I'm not real sure on the specifics, but it's basically a targeted nuke. You'll see it in use. I should probably start looking at the tooltips before I do these commentaries, but I kind of just talk about how I effectively see them in the commentary as opposed to how the skill description reads, and of course normally they line up. Basically what I'm saying is basically you target the main target you want to hit or something near the main target, and Aether Shock will hit him and everything around him. I'm playing with a Bane in lane, and I have to say I think Bane here was not the best player in the world. I'm not trying to hate on him. I don't mind people being of what I perceive to be a low skill level. It's just I think his item build and his play were kind of lacking this game, so maybe you guys can watch and tell me what you think. I never like the I'm going to buy 900 mantles of intelligence from Fountain on Bane, then I'm just going to try to brain swap to stay in lane. He also was last hitting with the brain swap and stuff like that. I just don't think this was a very optimal lane between us. I think we should have dominated this lane without incident. I last hit okay in general. I'm not like an all-pro last hitter, but I'm not that bad. I do much better on melee creeps for timing my last hits. On range creeps, my mind seems to have a really hard time calculating the amount of time it will take the projectile to hit a creep. But I think that's just a challenge of using ranged heroes. But of course, using melee heroes, it can get even harder in a tough lane where you have to know when to take the chance to run up and get that creep because you want to stay out of their harass range most of the time. So anyway, in other commentaries I've sort of done the premise conversation about what Dota 2 is, and I've come to the conclusion people who don't play Dota 2 probably aren't going to watch this, but I'm hoping that maybe some of the Dark Souls subscribers that are still screaming for Dark Souls will find some entertainment out of these videos, because realistically, oh my gosh. Of course, Priestess of the Moon tries to land an arrow there. For those of you not familiar with Priestess of the Moon, she shoots an arrow that travels X distance. It's a very long distance, and the further it travels before it hits you, the more damage and stun you receive. But if he had landed that stun, he could have definitely got a lot of damage off. I don't think he would have killed me. And there's Aether Shock. Before I start diverging into other topics, I should probably at least finish my conversation about the skill build, or the skills on this character. So you have Aether Shock, which is of course the nuke I described earlier. You have Hex, which, just like in Warcraft 3, melee, for those who actually played that, and he's dead, I can't save him. I almost kill him back. I probably should have hexed him. In retrospect, if I had hexed that Priestess of the Moon, I could have got an extra couple melee whacks in and then Aether Shock and killed him, but he got away, and it's not my fault that Bane died. I think it's Bane. Whatever, it's not my fault my ally there died. He just didn't happen. Yeah, Bane Elemental, that's what it is. At least that's what it was in Dota 1. Sometimes I get confused. I'm a Dota 1 player who's coming over to Dota 2. It's essentially the same game, but some of the hero and skill builds change, or not skill builds, some of the item names and just some things were renamed and stuff like that. I assume that was to avoid copyright infringement or just to make the game feel a little more fresh. I'm not sure, but either way, That's why I sometimes get nervous when I do this. Like, am I calling it the right thing in Dota 2? But it's probably not even worth worrying about. So second skill is a Hex, which turns somebody into a chicken. Just like on Warcraft 3 Melee. His third skill is Shackles, which is a channeling ability where I hold them in place literally with shackles, so I can't move and they can't move. It does a little bit of damage over time. And of course my ultimate is to set down a ward trap, which is basically just I spawn X number of wards based on the level of the skill, and those wards can be controlled, and they're immobile of course, and they attack X target. So ideally using this hero you want to Aether Shock people. Basically you're a huge disable machine that gets a nuke to help you last hit and do a little damage to enemy heroes early game. He's a very strong hero. He's one of those heroes where all of the skills feel strong. Like when I played Warlock, I kind of felt like Upheaval just wasn't that great. But I know it has uses and I know it's not a bad skill, but at times it just felt lacking. Shadow Shaman has, 2 disables without items, and with items you can get up to 3 or 4 disables if you really want to go crazy on him. So as a result of that, I really enjoy this hero. I feel like all my skills are useful at all stages of the game. When using wards, you want to try to trap somebody in the wards, because if you spawn the wards just at the right spot under them, they'll be encased inside the wards and they can't escape, and then it's pretty much a guaranteed kill, providing the hero isn't ungodly farmed or something like that. But the biggest point of this hero is actually just to disable other people, so he's definitely a support hero. Now to be fair, mistakes were made this game, as in most of my games. When I play support, I'm not the best at buying wards. It's not that I'm too cheap, it's just I'm too... Oh, that arrow, once again. Barely dodged it, saw it coming at the last second. Barely, it's not that I'm too cheap to buy them, I don't really need to farm a lot of my supports. Like most supports, I don't need gear to make Shadow Shaman that strong. It's just my big issue is, I forget to go place them, and I'm always concerned about getting under-leveled while I'm out warding and stuff like that. And we probably could have ganked more, but playing hard supports in random public games is difficult. And Shadow Shaman probably isn't a hard support, because he's got good nukes and good disables, so he's more of a disabler with supporting characteristics. Anyway, I'm not a pro Dota player, so trying to discuss roles is probably inaccurate. The point is, since I play in publics without friends that I can just necessarily reliably count on, let me quickly digress. The reason I took a 3rd level of Hex instead of Aether Shock is I'm not really using Aether Shock to harass right now, I'm using it to lane. And as a result, I just need enough to last hit creeps, and level 2 is more than strong enough for that. Now of course, my skill build is always to take wards at 6, 11, and 16, and to get Aether Shock and Hex max before I even mess with Shackles. Some people actually take stats early. Now here's my first mistake of the game that I think is clearly a mistake. I used the courier to bring boots all the way up this side lane, but no one else was using the chicken, so I didn't really feel too bad about using it. And I guess I bought it, which doesn't make a huge difference. I shouldn't jack the courier whether I bought it or not. But I did, and I haven't flown it yet. I'll buy the flying courier eventually. It just felt like in this game no one was spending on support items, so I decided I wouldn't either. I bought the first courier, which I thought was a good gesture on my part. But getting back to what I was saying, I find that whenever I play a hard support in the way you would say, and I've only played a couple in-house games that were actually of a high skill back in Dota 1, but the point is, I feel like when I play the game correctly, like I'm playing Dota 2 the way you would in a completely organized match, where one person in the lane gets all the farm, hard supports roam and always buy the wards, and there always are wards up, things like that. Whenever I try to play like that, I find that my allies are uncooperative because they don't want to play the game that way. They're not in an in-house, and they don't want to play random pub games like an in-house. So as a result, when I try to play the game like it's an in-house and it's not an in-house, we lose. And that's understandable, so I try to balance support roles with other roles. So I come back here hoping I could catch Priestess of the Moon running back to Fountain to heal because she's really low. In fact, if Bane had brain swapped her maybe once or twice, we probably would have had a kill on her, but whatever. I now have Arcane Boots, so I can support my lane with lots and lots of mana, which is important to Bane Elemental and important to Shadow Shaman. When it comes to my item build on Shadow Shaman, I basically just build things that give him lots of mana, which leaves me a lot of choices. A lot of the core recommendations on the game I actually really like. Now, my favorite item to build on him is Yules, because Yules pretty much does everything this hero needs, at least in my mind. Because the biggest weaknesses of Shadow Shaman are low HP, mana dependency, and very slow move speed. Yules gives you yet another disable, which fits your role. It gives you faster move speed, gives you tons of mana regen, and it's a great defensive tool as well, so you can cyclone yourself, which I do in a couple team fights. It saves my life. So I think Yules should be considered core on Rasta. I've tried a lot of different builds on him, at least in Dota 1. In Dota 2, this is probably my second game with him. I like going Sheep Stick on him. I like going Yules. I kind of like Bloodstone just because it helps him stay alive and it completely alleviates your mana problems. But at that point, Arcane Boots seems kind of wasted unless you're using it for your allies, so I don't know. Aghanim's is fine. I definitely think there's a role for Aghanim's on this hero, which of course makes your wards much stronger and it makes the cooldown lower. And I think that you basically build an Aghanim's when you need more DPS and less disable. Because in this game, I will eventually wind up building an Aghanim's. And the reason I wind up doing that is because I perceive that we have adequate CC and disable. We just did not have enough DPS. Like, none of the heroes in my lineup are really doing enough damage. I mean, we have Bane Hollow, who is a crazy powerful disabler. Or not Bane Hollow, that's wrong. We have Bane Elemental, who's an incredibly powerful disabler. We have Rasta, who's an incredibly powerful disabler, which is me. So, I thought our CC was adequate, we just weren't DPSing very well. And if as I recall, Bane Elemental didn't really use Nightmare properly, and I don't play Bane Elemental very well either, so I'm not judging. Of course, this pause here kind of screwed me up. Not that it matters, because this was a really bad ward gank here. I thought I could come in, stick the wards on somebody, but PO team can leap anyway, so she's going to get away. Pretty bad play by my part, so I did what I could. Now I have these useless wards sitting here that'll probably not do anything, so it was unfortunate that I screwed up that ward gank there. But it all works out because, for whatever reason, the other team decides they're going to gank us back, which is pretty funny because they gank us right into these wards. And of course, Pudge gets his hook off here and I'm dead. I know I'm dead. I go ahead and Aether Shock him before I die for good measure, and I try to get away, but I don't have higher move speed than him, and his rot will slow me down to the point I can't get away. So, I guess my wards were marginally helpful there. They helped us fight the gank a little bit, but ultimately it didn't work out. I died, my ally died. But Kunkka comes up, lands a ship, and gets one kill, and he's going to chase down Dragon Knight. I can't recall if Dragon Knight gets away. It's important that he doesn't, though, because I don't think my team is capable of holding off a farm Dragon Knight. I noticed in this game I was having a struggle with my allies in that I would continually say, we have to push early, we cannot go late game because farm Dragon Knight will just roll over this team. Particularly because Lifestealer really wasn't having that great of a game, which will sort of come out as the game continues, and everyone's just like, don't worry, you can disable him, you can keep disabling him. I'm like, I don't know, guys. Once Dragon Knight gets his third dragon form, pops a Black King bar, and has like Life Leech, he's basically unkillable for the entire length of that Black King bar. We just have to run away. So and he demolishes towers with that splash damage. So in other words, I basically felt as though we could not possibly win this late game. So I was always trying to get everyone to push. You'll see that in the chat and on the voice chat. I didn't voice chat much because I thought I was actually commentating. This War Trap was much better. I put it by the tower because I thought I could get a cheeky double kill and get the tower at the same time. And the good news is, I actually will. I snagged that double. I didn't feel that Kunkka really needed the kill. I thought about saving it for Kunkka, but I was concerned PO team would leap randomly into the jungle and get away, so I went ahead and took it. And I don't think Kunkka's going to be a hard carry this game because he's building like Battle Fury and stuff like that. And I find the only build that I see Kunkka's really carry with, at least in my opinion, is the Shadow Blade, Daedalus, go invisible, swing, hope to get a lucky crit, and then your Tidebreaker will cleave the crit and you'll just kill everybody. Battle Fury kind of works the same way, but not really. So, slowly trying to build up to my Yules here, trying to get as much mana regen as possible, because Aether Shock just makes last hitting a breeze, and I need to have a lot of mana because my Hex just eats mana. Another thing that makes this game kind of exceptional for me is, normally when Shadow Shaman is laned with somebody, because I see him solo a lot in sort of higher level games, which I watch a lot, but in these low tier games, excuse me, in these high level games, Shadow Shaman typically, I don't know if I'm going to die here or not. So I go ahead and sheep him. I have like no life, but I'm going to get away, yeah. See, that's how good sheep is. If I had shackles, I'd have been dead there. Because I could have shackled him and held him, but then once the shackles ran out, he'd just kill me and his Starfall would be off cooldown anyway. I noticed that players tend to get shackles early, and I think that's a mistake. I think shackles is pretty bad early game. I mean, one level of it seems strong, but I think as the game goes on, shackles gets weaker and weaker. So, definitely Hex first. I don't even think that's I don't think there's any arguable reason to go Shackles first. Maybe if the enemy team has no disables, so you can never get broken out of your channeling, maybe then Shackles might be better, but I'd still probably take Hex just for the range. Because Shadow Shaman's not very fast, so if people run from him, they can probably get away from you. Whereas, you know, Hex has good range. So I put a ward down here, and I cannot believe POTM just runs into the wards like that. Totally disrespecting me, I guess. I go ahead and pop a Hex and run out of mana, but it all works out because we managed to get the kill. I now have wards in a completely useless location, but they already did their part. So I'm not going to chase Pudge. He stole the hook from... Now that would have been a clutch play if Rubik had actually landed it, because Rubik just stole hook shot. Rubik's ultimate lets him steal the last use skill by the enemy, so he steals Pudge's hook shot and tries to hook him in. That would have been really cool if he had succeeded, but unfortunately he missed the hook, which was probably a well-thrown hook, just didn't get there in time. And I'm still building towards my Yules. But, you know, as I see things on the preview, I keep switching topics, which is leading to, this would have been better commentated live, and I'm sorry it was intended to be live, but I don't know, DX Tory screwed up, or I screwed up on DX Tory. Whatever it might be, in any case, absolutely should have recorded this live. And as I was previously saying, what makes this game kind of unique for a Shadow Shaman is the fact that I am actually pretty farmed right now. Like, I have pretty good gold and stuff, and normally when Shadow Shamans are in lanes, the carry or whoever's in lane with Shadow Shaman is normally getting all the farm. If he's not solo, he's not getting farm in most of the games I watch, so I'm getting farm because I'm stealing last hits from Bane Elemental. A, because Bane Elemental, I didn't think he would get them. B, because I didn't think he would be able to utilize them well. In other words, I had no faith in Bane Elemental, so I just kind of put the team on my back like Swole and just decided that I would take all the farm and try to do everything I could this game, which is probably not the right attitude. This is a team-oriented game, and if I don't believe in my allies, I should probably just go play another game. Like Dark Souls, which everybody wants me to play anyway. But I gotta take a minute to say, I love Dark Souls. Prepare to Die will be all over this channel, but I'm taking a little Dark Souls break. I put so much Dark Souls content out, at least for me. I know there's commentators that have done even more than me, but I have put a fair share of Dark Souls content out, and there comes a point where I just like to play other games. You saw me back up there. I backed up because A, it was a good time to back up, but I actually did believe that I was going to get hooked there, and I was right. So Kunkka throws his ship, overshoots it and misses. And I knew that we had that. I know, great commentary. I knew that we had that. The minute that... It's pretty cool that this Rubik keeps stealing hook and then using it, because that hook was actually really critical for the for that team fight just now, because he pulled Dragon Knight way out of position and let us focus him down. Because once again, we got to keep killing Dragon Knight. We don't want to deal with a farm Dragon Knight. And at this point, I don't think we can push this tower, because we're just not strong enough. We don't do a lot of DPS. My wards are on cooldown, so we just don't have any DPS to actually bring down the tower. But once again, Rubik with his clutch hooks gets the POTM killed. Now it's pushable, but they're all respawning in, so we pretty much just have to back up either way. We don't get a push off, but that's not a big deal because we do wind up getting kills and things like that, and that's always a big deal. Because like I said, we're not going to win this late game, and I'm going to screw up pretty bad later in the match. So far, I would have to say I've done everything reasonably well. Maybe not the best disables, but they're definitely like legitimate. Like, no one in this game was complaining about my performance, and I'm in a high skill bracket. I'm not very high yet. This is one game I would not mind it being very high. Honestly, in most games I play, I don't strive to be like competitive necessarily. Like, I don't want to be bad. So I've been playing like Counter-Strike Global Offensive or whatever, and I'm bad. Like, I'm about at the same skill level as a bot, and that's atrocious for those of you that don't play Counter-Strike. So that's a game where I'd honestly like to be better. So then I Cyclone myself here because I saw everyone coming, and maybe not the best Cyclone. I probably should have waited until they jumped on me to Cyclone myself, but I didn't. So then I Ward Trap right at my feet, won, and I actually lived through that amazingly. Despite doing a bad Cyclone on myself, I managed to pull out of that alive, so just goes to show you the power of wards, a bunch of disables, and Cyclone Stick. I now have a ton of mana regeneration, and of course I get picked off by POTM. You know, I really should be quick with my disables, because if I would plan these disables a little better, I could probably have disabled her, like hexed her the minute she leapt in, hexed her when she landed, and then ran out of Starfall range, but I was too slow on the draw, or maybe cycloned her myself. There's a lot of options I had that I didn't take advantage of. That's something I struggle with when I play someone like Shadow Shaman. When I play Skeleton King, for example, normally I play optimally, because Skeleton King, for those of you that don't know, has a bunch of very simple skills. He's basically an attack move hero that once he gets farmed, his passives combined with his powerful stun ensure that he will outcarry most heroes. So, pretty easy to play for me. I don't have a lot of decisions to make. But when I play Shadow Shaman, I've got a lot of decisions. Like in any team fight, I have to decide. Aether Shock's pretty simple. I just Aether Shock them whenever it's off cooldown over and over for DPS. But for the rest of these fights, like, I have to plan my wards. Like, I have to try to ward trap somebody. In the ideal situation, I would ward trap somebody, hex somebody, shackle somebody, and cyclone myself or an ally or an enemy even. So there's a lot of active skills to worry about. I need to watch my mana, my life, my positioning. Shadow Shaman is not an easy hero to play. It's not an extremely complicated hero so much as there's a lot of choices you have to make at any given time, and that causes problems for me because I'm still learning. I'm not the best player in the world. So until I get to the point where I'm a better player and things like that flow naturally, I just have to accept that I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. Something that gets me about these matches is whenever I play matches and I don't do like super well, because I normally do okay, but there are those games that are just really, really bad. I don't know why I ward trapped there, or when I cyclone myself. That was not the way to handle that. He's not going to be able to kill me though, he knows it. I think that unless you have a silence, no one can really kill Rasta solo. I mean, if you have like a silence so I can't disable you, but in most cases, anyone that tries to kill me solo without help, I'll just shackle them, or I'll just hex them and run. And then when they get close to me, if they pursue even further, and I don't have... This all provide. Let's just pretend I have no items at whatever point they're ganking me, and I'm at like level 12, say. I'll hex them, and then I'll run, because I'm not the fastest. So they'll chase me, and if they catch up, then I'll shackle them, and I'll hold them, and I'll keep pinging for my allies to come, and hope their allies don't come. And then hex will be off cooldown, so I'll hex them again and run. Normally by that time I can fall behind a tower, I don't know. With that said, I have died to solo ganks a lot of Shadow Shaman to like NS, but once again, that's because, he has Void to nuke down a lot of my life and, get silenced. If Rasta's silenced, he's pretty much useless because his auto attack does very poor damage, relatively at least. It's just not, you're not going to kill anybody with auto attack more often than not, so. Like most casters, you're entirely reliant on your skills, and with Rasta that's particularly true because you really just have a bunch of CC and a little bit of a nuke, so your allies really depend. You really depend on your allies to take advantage of what you're doing. So let's look at that. What just happened to Kunkka there? Bane Elemental's right there. All he had to do was sleep Pudge or really do anything to disable him. I don't think he had grip available. And he has Meld, so he survives that POTM gank. This Rubik is pretty cool. He stole a lot of creative skills, which, is what you do as Rubik. I'm not the best Rubik player, so I tend to stay away from him. I understand how he works, I just don't play him that well. But you'll notice that he steals a lot of really neat skills and uses them really well in these team fights. Like, example, he stole the hook and had a bunch of initiations with the hook. The enemy team wasn't even expecting to get hooked. So he had some really cool initiations. This Rubik might have been MVP this game. For a while there I thought I might have been MVP because I thought I had some really powerful disables, but I use the resources that are available to my hero. So I cyclone him to try to get Rubik in position, and I totally screw this up. All I had to do to ensure that kill was to put wards down or run in or shackle, but I thought the shackles could reach over that cliff, but they couldn't. There was inadequate range, so I let him get away because I'm bad. Then I see there's going to be a team fight coming, so I desperately go running that way because I don't think they can win team fights without me, which isn't that big of, that's not a huge, that's not like an insult to my teammates so much as saying, well, no duh, But I am the vast majority of the CC on the team because Bane tends to not CC very well, and that fight went well. All I did was throw the wards down behind him, some block the retreat path, threw some hexes and some shackles, Aether Shock whenever it was off cooldown, and AA'd between cooldowns. It was like playing an MMORPG, only not boring. For those that don't know, I find MMOs horribly boring because I hate grinds. One of the reasons I have been playing Dark Souls is that game does not have a grind, don't get me wrong, it's just I played through it so many times that it just like there's areas in the game I want to get to. Has anyone ever played that? You play the same game a lot. And there's areas of the game you really enjoy, so you just want to play those areas over and over. But of course you have to play through the whole game, or at least you should, for the experience, especially for commentating and stuff like that. So I don't know. Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition, guys. Need new content on that game because I've played out the old content and I'm tired of lagging in PvP. That's another thing I like about Dota 2 is, you know, most PC games, as long as your connection is fine, which mine is not because my school's internet is horrible, horrible, horrible. As long as your connection is relatively okay, and then of course here comes the usual, let's gank Shadow Shaman because he's alone. Unfortunately, you just can't gank me. Between Sheep, Cyclone, and just running, she's not going to be able to kill me. I do want to note that even with Yules, which is a great mana regeneration item, great item period, and mana boots, I still find myself low on mana just because that Hex eats so much mana. And since Hex is arguably your best skill, I'd say Hex is probably better than the Serpent Wards even. It's like, Hex is the bread and butter of this. Aether Shock might be the skill you use the most, but Hex will probably be the most clutch plays along with Wards. So both Wards and Hex are mana intensive, and Hex to a point is spammable in team fights, so it's like, you have to just have a tremendous amount of mana regeneration on this hero. Oh, and I thought for sure I was going to get lucky and ward trap him, but I didn't. Thankfully, Kunkka does land his boat, and I kind of screw up there. I did not use my disables optimally, but my auto attack winds up getting into the end with help from allies. We just right click him down. All in all, this match was going pretty well, but I was actually really nervous the whole time because I understand that late game we just don't got this. Like, Nyx is a pretty cool late game hero, but I just don't think Nyx is going to be able to take down a farm Dragon Knight, and Rubik slows down as the game goes on. Even my hero slows down a little bit. That's not to say that my disables ever become less powerful so much as things just slow down for me. Kunkka theoretically doesn't slow down too much. Bane slows down because his nukes do less and less damage. In other words, we're going to get out-carried. That's my fear. And we're not really fighting TA properly. To kill TA, you have to have attacks that, you know, attack quickly. Like, Rot would be a great counter. We don't have Rot, but basically you need skills that hit her multiple times because Refract, which is one of her skills, protects her for X number of attacks. And look at all this like damage we're throwing at her, and she's just not taking any damage whatsoever. Like, I go ahead and shackle her, and finally she goes into Meld. I'm gonna get Starfall here, and I know it. I was hoping I might get a double kill off that Aether because I was trying to get the guy behind him, not the other hero, but didn't succeed. And now Dragon Knight's going to come and clean up. Windrunner disables, and I should back here. There's no way we're going to fight and win, but TA's chasing me and I don't think I can get away. I probably, I don't know if I could have got away. If I kept running, maybe juked into the woods, I might have been able to get away, but maybe not. TA's traps pretty much mean that you can't run out. But I have a lot of disables. Maybe I could have hexed Dragon Knight so he couldn't stun me and just kept trying to make the good run. Maybe use better usage of Wand. I don't know. Deaths like that are acceptable though, because honestly I don't need a lot of farm to be effective. I consider Yules the core. And I don't know why Rubik went back in. I guess he went back in just to kill TA, which I don't really think it was worth it. I don't really like trading my life for one. Now to be fair, TA is going to carry a lot harder than Rubik, so there's some argument there that dying for it is worth your time because you both go to respawn. I think there's a better use of your time, like running. But I guess if your enemy team, the enemy team didn't push as a result of us being down, so there were some people down, we were some people down, and they chose not to push, so maybe Rubik's sacrifice was worth it, maybe? I'm not sure, it doesn't really matter. So, these Dota 2 matches are long, guys. I hope I don't run out of things to talk about. So, getting really close to my Aghanim Scepter, which I'm pretty excited about. Sometimes I get Aghanim Scepter on this hero for all the wrong reasons. It reduces the cooldown, so it's nice spammable, and as a result, I tend to use wards to kill ancient creeps and increase my farm. And increasing my farm really just doesn't do a whole lot on this hero. Because I can never carry, like it doesn't matter what gear I get on this hero. No movement speed, no life, no criticals, no survivability. I'm just a CC machine, so really I need to focus on life and positioning. So I think a Blink Dagger would have been an incredible choice this game. But I did consider, instead of Aghanims, I consider Bloodstone, Blink Dagger, and all sorts of things. But like I said, I felt like our problem in these fights was not inadequate disables, it was inadequate DPS. So clearly I thought I needed to increase the DPS, and my physical attacks always kind of suck. So I easily got beat down there. Wasn't thinking, was out farming, wasn't safe. We don't have wards up, and probably I should be the one putting up wards, or Bane. I mean, the fact that we just don't have wards is pretty bad. This is another example of you have an advantage, and you're starting to think that you don't need to play that hard. And Kunkka just goes in. I respect that. I don't think it was an optimal choice, but Kunkka just goes in for it. And the Rubik disables are great. Looks like they're going to win this team fight. Yeah, they do. Like I said, I sometimes believe that if I'm not there, they probably shouldn't be team fighting. Steals arrow and lands it. Most clutch arrow ever. Like I said, this Rubik is maybe going for MVP. Between stealing arrows and stealing punch hooks, maybe if not MVP, this Rubik definitely has the most clutch plays of the match. I don't think that's even negotiable. Clearly this Rubik is just having a lot of fun this game. And that's something I appreciate. People in Dota 2 tend to get really serious, and sometimes I find myself playing way too seriously. I mean, I like to win, and if you're going to be in a match for at least 30 minutes, probably closer to an hour, it's frustrating to play a whole match and not win. So, definitely the kind of game that really pushes you to win. And you saw me Aether Shock that one range creep. I didn't think I could auto-attack and get the kill. I thought the tower was going to make the timing too difficult and or impossible for me. So I went ahead and just last hit it with Aether Shock. I have enough mana now that, blowing Aether Shocks and stuff on creeps really isn't a big deal. Now, absolutely, early in the game, Aether Shock should be used sparingly. I did use it the last hit, but I try to time it so I can last hit maybe 2 creeps at once. Right now, I'm really just using it as a pushing tool. I'm trying to push up mid lane. Because as always, I'm definitely like screaming in my head, maybe not in chat, but definitely in my mind. I was like, we need to push, we need to push. We can't win late game. So now I have my Aghanim sitting at home back at base, and I go ahead and see that my teammates are fighting a team fight that I'm not going to be able to get there in time because I don't have boots of travel, which I don't think I needed really. I go ahead and slam down the wards to take out mid tower and push effectively. Definitely a good choice. Sometimes I think that's something I do notice players miss that I usually remember. If you're not going to make it in time to a team fight, don't waste your time trying to run there when you know you can't get there. I mean, absolutely, if you can get there, but if you know you can't, go farm, go do something productive, and, I went up mid and took a tower. That's pretty productive. So, just a quick tip, one of the few things I've observed other players not doing well that I do well. Typically, I observe players doing things better than me on this game, but on occasion I see things that I tend to do better. I also notice players in this game tend to do a lot of hero chasing, like, I actually don't do that. If someone runs past the tower, unless I'm playing like NS or somebody that's really dependent on getting hero kills, I don't really push the issue. I kind of just let them go and focus on the tower. I think taking towers is more important than chasing people down for hero kills. Everything in Dota 2, or ARTS in general, is pretty situational, so I can't really make like a general rule for you always do this every time ever. But I can say that I think that people put too much emphasis on hero kills. I definitely think farming is probably more important. Staying in lane and getting farm on certain heroes is more useful than ganking. For example, if you're playing Faceless Void, every time Chrono is off cooldown, if you have good allies, you can probably get a kill with it, but sometimes it's probably not better running from bottom lane to top lane to go get that kill. It's probably better just to stay bottom lane and farm. And this is all Dota 101, and nothing in these commentaries is particularly profound, but for those of you hoping to break into the game, I highly recommend this. I wish more players played Dota 2. It's not that it's an unpopular game, but none of my subscribers play it, or very few, so I'd like to see more of you guys playing this. It's free to play on Steam, so if you have a PC that can run it and internet that can handle it, and I don't have internet that can handle it, so if I can't, anybody probably can. I definitely would like to see more people playing with me here, killing creeps and trying to gangbang some heroes with me, so love to see you guys out here, but that's just sort of my Dota 2 sales pitch. Because, you know, oddly enough, one of the most requested things on my YouTube channel is, hey, Ego, we want to play with you. And I'm just not real big on playing with subs, not on the games I play. I don't really want to play with... I definitely don't want to play with anybody on Dark Souls. That's kind of my own thing. I don't want to have bouts with anybody. I want to just do my own thing. I play Dark Souls to get away from my social life. Now, Dota 2, I would love to have people, even if they're bad. You know, even if the players are worse than me. If you're worse than me at Dota 2, you're bad. Like, I think I actually make a pretty decent bar on Dota 2. If you're as good as me, you're decent. If you're better than me, you're probably pretty good. If you're worse than me, you need to get better. You don't want to be worse than Egoxeno at Dota 2. So just a quick FYI, word to the wise. Grinding through this commentary, and you know, now that Agadems is online, or at least available, I can ward farm and everything else, and do all the things I shouldn't do. I really shouldn't be taking ancient creeps from my allies. Really, Nyax should be the one getting them, but I don't have a lot of fit. Like, I don't really think Nyax played very well this game, and I definitely don't think that Bane played very well this game. That's not meant to be judgmental. I mean, I screwed up a lot too. It's just, I feel like they consistently weren't fulfilling their roles. I felt like, as Shadow Shaman, I consistently fulfilled my role. Maybe not optimally, but I fulfilled it. Whereas I don't feel like either of them even optimally fulfilled their roles. I mean, I don't feel like I should have to get an Agadem Scepter for DPS, but I really felt like we needed it. So, clearly there was a mistake made on Nyax's part, I don't know. With how much free farm Nyax received throughout this game, I think he should have been at the point where he was nigh unstoppable. Whereas their Dragon Knights died quite a few times. I don't know, when you watch these games, you only watch it from my perspective, which is, you know, my hero, where everything I see on the map. I don't watch what other players might be doing. Maybe Nyax died a bunch of times. Maybe he just didn't last hit very well. It's hard for me to say, but I don't have the kind of map awareness I need to keep track of how my teammates are doing and how I'm doing. I can pull the scoreboard, of course, but seeing kills and deaths and assists is only a cursory look of how they're doing. There's a lot of hidden factors that doesn't analyze. So, hard to say, hard to say.
The spirit moves me.
Of course, this game's at the 36-minute mark, so things are starting to wind down. I've got an Agadem Scepter, a Wand, a Mana Boots, and a Yules, which probably isn't too far off where I want my final item build to be. Instead of Agadems, I'd rather have something that's a little more, probably another Jinsu would be nice, or I do like Bloodstone on this hero, but at this point, Scepter already gives me some life and some mana, less than, say, Bloodstone would, of course, but it does provide some, a little bit, so at this point I actually think armor would be more effective on a hero than HP, and of course there's math you can do to determine if that's actually true, but at this point I was more concerned with just buying something and getting geared. I felt like we kind of had the game well in hand, so I go ahead and grab a plate mail for some armor that I'll eventually make a Shiva's, because I just need all the items in my inventory to be extremely caster heavy, and we're getting to that point because 3 of them have activated abilities on the items. Okay, so they're all going to go in. I'm waiting for the best time to put a ward down, and I go ahead, wards are on cooldown, so because once again I've been a bad player and I've been using them to farm, and I let Dragon Knight go there because I didn't even see him over there on the corner of the screen. My headset was actually sitting in front of it as I was commentating, so total mistake there. TA is putting the beat down to me, and Bane ran out of mana or let her go or something like that. Then the Miracle Hook, which was pretty cool because the shackles are still holding him all the way over there, so finally get a kill on the TA that we can never seem to kill. I miss that in Dota 1, if I had Agadems on certain heroes, they got a visual effect for having the Agadems. Like Lena had these sweet fiery blue hands, red and blue hands, and Shadow Shaman had like a little particle effect. I miss all that stuff, that on Dota 2 your hero doesn't get a particle effect when he has an Agadem, so I'm hoping that's something that they'll put in eventually. I don't know if that's something they eventually intend to do or not. But now I've got level 4 wards here, level 3, and of course the Agadems for level 4, which basically ensures a tower kill, because even the wards itself are going to take down the tower probably without the hero help, and the wards and plus us DPSing, we're finally taking mid-racks, which is pretty exciting. This always brings a big relief to me when I'm playing against a team of friends, or not, I'm sorry, not necessarily playing against a team of friends, but I'm playing against a team of carries or a team of friends or something where I feel like at any time the game could swing against us. When I get a Rax, I feel a lot safer because I know at any given time mid is going to get pushed. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that regen. I was hurt, so I decided I'd go ahead and benefit from it. And getting pretty close to a Shiva's here. Grab a Mystic Staff, which will give me a little bit of DPS and more mana. At this point, my mana needs are pretty much met, and I'm just farming luxury items. Really, for me, after the Yules, everything else is luxury because, like I said, Rasta doesn't normally farm unless he's solo. If he's solo, I think you're best just to rush a Sheeper. That way you have pretty much unlimited mana and... Sorry, noise out in the hallway. For those of you that haven't watched other commentaries, I am a hall director, so... As I was saying, rushing... Normally, you see, I'm not getting a lot of farm, and so I have to buy wards and stuff like that, so you won't have necessarily the resources to build all the items you want to have. But, in any case, this is sort of an exceptional game in that, which I basically got farm in a side lane, which is rare for a Shadow Shaman, at least when I play him. And if you had soloed, if I had soloed, if anyone really soloed Shadow Shaman, I think rushing Sheep Stick is probably the best. It takes care of your mana problems, it gives you some decent auto attack damage, and most importantly, it gives you the ability to have another Sheep in addition to your Hex. So you can Hex, then Jinsu's, then Shackles if you need to. At that point, you should pretty much have the game well in hand. Or at least have your disabling needs well in hand. I don't know about the game. Well, we are getting near the end of this commentary. They have a Rax down, so we're constantly having mid lane pushed by the lane itself. Our heroes are getting farmed up, and I have a lot of active abilities to keep track of. Any team fight, I'm responsible for throwing down wards, hexing one person, shackling another, but not necessarily in that order, because I also have the responsibility of Yulesing something, whether it be myself or an ally, activating the Shivas and hitting as many people with Shivas as possible, so... There's just a lot going on, and it looks like we're going to have a team fight here in the river. If we win this team fight, we'll absolutely be able to take another Rax because they won't have buyback money, and if they do, they won't have enough buybacks to hold us. That's another thing that's cool about Shadow Shaman is, if only one person buybacks and I'm still alive, I can easily disable him to the point he can't get his buyback off. And at this point, I'm outside of my level of skill with DOTA2. I'm not really comfortable having this many active abilities I'm responsible for. I mean, if you consider all my skills useful in a team fight, which I do, any given time I'm responsible for casting 6 different things per team fight, and on the correct targets and things like that, so definitely a challenge for me. One of my allies got arrowed there, and I guess we're going to go in. Kunkka initiates, which I think is correct for our lineup. We don't really have a true initiator, and I get hooked back by my ally, because I can't tell if I ran in the way of that or not. I'm not sure what went wrong. I get my shackles off on somebody. Dragon Knight decides he's going to make a run for it, and I decide I'm going to chase Dragon Knight because he's the carry I'm most concerned about. He's X, so I know he's coming back. He can't get away, not between all the disables. And I wind up grabbing that with an Aether Shock. Wasn't really trying to steal it so much as just firing everything I had off, and I happened to grab him. So I'm going to go... I walked right past the haste because I was busy looking up top, which was a misplay. That haste would have been useful for me to get to the middle lane quickly. Now at this point, we probably could have just thrown it. They've got 4 dead and they're all hurt and middle's pushed already. But I decide that I'm going to go ahead and push out the side lane, just in case. I like having one lane already pushed and people at middle, but this way we'll get some tower kills for the gold, and this is probably not the optimal choice. I really think we could have just thrown it, and passing up a throning is like passing up checkmate in chess. You don't want to do that, but either way, this decision is probably equally strong, because with 2 lanes pushed and them being behind, there's really no good comeback option for them. The only thing I don't like about Dota as a game is you can get in situations where there really isn't a good comeback. And that, I'm telling you, those hooks off that Rubik are fantastic. I really enjoy them. And unfortunately, my last team fight, I didn't use my Shivas. To be fair, there wasn't really necessarily an optimal time to use the Shivas. I don't know if we really needed the Shivas. The aura is always active, but there's no excuse for not using it. I've got the mana to spam pretty much all of my skills freely now. The only thing I really don't have is survivability. I've got some, but not enough. You notice a lot of players this match have got Lincoln Spheres. I don't really like Lincolns as an item on very many heroes. I like Lincolns on, like, 2 heroes. I like Lincolns a lot on Morphling, and I like Lincolns a lot on Tinker. Those are probably the only two heroes that actually put a Lincoln's on, aside from some very specific matches, which I don't think this is one of them. Their team doesn't have a whole lot of disables anyway, other than Dragon Knight. So, we're of course just cleaning up now. 2 Raxes are down. Now we're just killing heroes for fun, because this is always what happens at the end of Dota matches. You just kind of go to their fountain and kill whoever you can, when you can, for giggles. Once this tower goes down, which will be any second now, the game was well in hand probably 20 minutes ago, but like I said, at any point though, we could have lost if Dragon Knight had just been able to get his farm on. Like if he had been pulling creeps that whole time, pulling ancients and just stacking creeps and getting gold, we definitely could have lost this, because a fed Dragon Knight could probably outcarry this whole team. Because I swear, fed Dragon Knight, like mini carries, is near unstoppable, particularly once BKB gets involved and you can't disable him. Anyway, that's the end of another Dota 2 gameplay commentary. Thank you all for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed. This is a new brand of commentary for me, so if anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. These are long commentaries because Dota 2 matches are long. So you can see the stats there at the end. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope to see everyone next time. Alright guys, take care.